Here we go, as
So
someone said.
begins.
Rachel said, here we go. Honestly, man, I hope this does not come to fruition as these models
Yeah.
are putting out. We got the latest model information. We actually do have a snow accumulation map. We showed it actually throughout the day. It's a little early in my taste, but it is preliminary. We'll continue to watch it. We'll give you the latest. We got a lot to talk about, but before we get into the data, we do have a special guest because I know a lot of people are actually concerned about power and losing power. And I know a little bit about the weather. I don't know anything about power. But I know who does. And he knows a little bit about the weather too. So we are going to have a special guest on, Davion. It is my good friend, Denton Sachs. And Denton, first of all, thank you so much for being on here. We appreciate you so much. And, I'll tell you a little bit more about Denton. But Denton, tell us about yourself, and then you can kind of get into, why we actually need to be concerned, even if it's a white, fluffy snow.
Yeah, even if it's a white, fluffy snow, you can still get power outages with it. So, a little bit about me. I've been in the power industry for about 16 years now. Worked for SWEPCO here locally, and now I work for Telex LLC, based out of Fayetteville, but we're a nationwide electrical testing company, engineering company, and we rebuild and maintain the nation's electrical grid. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a kind of a mixed bag. I've been involved with weather and severe weather broadcasting for just about as long, probably actually a little bit longer. Whenever I started as an intern at KNWA way back in the day, so I've been doing it for a little bit. But yeah, so part of the reason why you can get power outages and then maybe have a little bit longer of an outage time is the way the structure of the snowflake actually is. So a dry snow is like a kind of that traditional snowflake that you have that you would draw as a child or something, and that actually collects more particulate as it falls through the air. So that causes tracking on the insulators, that causes tracking on your equipment inside the substation, and if it's a heavy enough dry snow, yeah, it won't accumulate, and you won't track through the moisture in the snow, but it'll actually track from the particulate that the snow as it falls through the air grabs that particulate. And it just creates kind of it's a you can't really win one way or the other with it. Now obviously it has to be quite a bit of snow, but we have quite a bit of snow in the forecast.
Yeah, we sure do. Now we got actually a little bit of a graphic here to kind of show you what you're talking about, because that went over my head.
Yeah, me too. We were kind of looking at each other like,
it might have went over several other people's heads. But enlighten us with, let's just say, with some, with some of that information again. So a dry snow collects all that particulate, the dust and soot, and it has a higher surface area, I guess, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So it collects more dirt and particles. That's because those snowflakes are able to be kept intact. So I do believe that we're going to see a dry snow, but there is a lot of understanding about, snow ratios. We'll talk more about that. I do believe that this will be more of a dry snow, especially after the onset of the precipitation that moves in. This guy's saying, yeah, I thought he explained it well. For sure. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So that's a bad thing. So that particulate, what does it do to, like you said, the power lines and stuff?
Yeah, so it's not really the power lines that you have to be concerned with. It's the insulators that are standing the power line off of the pole, and more inside of the substation. That's where I work quite a bit, inside the high voltage transmission yards. And of course, at those voltages, they're quite a bit larger. But at the lower voltage that sends the power out to your house, you can get tracking on those insulators, and if you get enough of it, you can get a line to ground fault. So it basically makes that insulator no longer have the dielectric that it did, because it has particulate and just nastiness along that insulator. So the electricity will actually track down those particles. And if you get especially if you get a blowing snow, it doesn't take a lot of wind to blow the dry snow either. You get a little bit of that on the insulators, you can get tracking. Something else to think about, though, is when you have to roll the crews out to actually restore the power, if it's bad enough, or if it's in certain situations where they have to roll the crew out, If you have inclement weather, that's going to take them longer to get there. So, what may have been a shorter outage time and just a normal, spring thunderstorm that we get around here might be a little bit longer just to get the crews out there. Now, the power companies do a really good job of staging people around the area, and they'll even bring, contract resources in like I am sometimes to help with that.
Yeah.
But it's certainly something that you just have to, it kind of compounds the issue. If you get wind, you can get the lines slapping together. That causes face-to-phase faults. That's what causes your, lights to blink, on and off 3 times. That's a recloser going through a reclose cycle, trying to test the line.
I always wondered what that was.
Yeah.
Well, we had a lot of that during the ice storm of 2009. I remember.
Absolutely, yeah.
They would try to turn on the power, and it was like, nope, not going to happen yet. Because
yeah, absolutely. That's what those 3 blinks are. They say, oh, if it blinks 2 or 3 times, then your power is going to be out a long time. What that is, that's actually going on into a lockout state, and that notifies the dispatcher, hey, this feeder has locked out, and they need to roll a crew or truck, or in some cases they can do it remotely with SCADA and reclose that line in. But it's a delicate balance, especially none of this, it never happens one at a time. The dispatch center will go from being really, really quiet to really, really hectic, and that's really where they earn their big dollars that they make, because the whole system just starts to try to devolve on it. So.
I'm looking at some of the comments here, and this is a good one here. This dude is next level IQ because I'm lost.
Well, sorry. I'm very passionate about weather, very passionate about power. So I've been doing this for a long time. So.
It could kill you if you don't do it right when you're on those lines. It's a very dangerous
both
job.
of them can kill you. So.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so real quick, should we expect power outages? What do you think? Looking at the latest, looking at all this stuff, will there be potential power outages? Because if that's the case, man, we've got some really cold weather. We got some incredible amounts of snow potentially, and that's going to be dangerous.
It's really hard to forecast. It's even harder to forecast than the weather, and there's a lot of money into it if you can, you can predict both the outages and the generation on your system. So, but it's certainly pretty likely, I would say so, because just anytime you get inclement weather, you get people sliding around, they hit a pole, the pole goes down, that can cause power outages as well. I mean, it's just, there's many facets. And our electric grid is pretty taxed as is, especially in Northwest Arkansas. There's a lot of load growth here, so that's it absolutely is something that you have to take into consideration. That as you start losing parts of your system, it puts strain on everything else.
What about ice? Ice is very, very dangerous. Now we know that, obviously.
That is in our business, we absolutely hate ice. We had a really bad ice storm, back in the early 2000s. That is, I still remember to this day because of the amount of just catastrophic damage that it does. That will take down your transmission lines, and once you start losing transmission infrastructure, especially in the United States, once you start losing that can get into a cascading situation. You can get into rolling blackouts at that time, because it gets really catastrophic pretty quickly, and it's a lot harder to restore. It's a lot slower to restore, and you have to start getting into what's called black start situations. We practice that through the year. Every utility company is required to do it, but it's just something that you definitely don't want to get into.
Don't want to mess it with that. Denton, is the grid going to be stressed more than usual for this storm, or is it something that we can pull from another less affected grid? Great question from Dan Stuff Diva.
Yeah, so it's really it's kind of you can envision the electric grid, especially in our area, kind of like just a large lake. And when you're generating power, through the power stations, you're putting in that power, into that one side of the lake, and then you're pulling it from the other. Now, instead of having a large body of water, what you have are these power lines. You have the high voltage transmission lines, carry it to your distribution substations, steps the voltage down, goes out towards where your house is, and then you have another transformer on your pole that actually steps it down, or is in the ground that will step it down to a lower voltage. So all that to say, when you have such a wide area, and Dan will show you on the models.
Yeah,
this is
we'll look
such
at
a
that here
wide
in just a
storm.
second. A wide area,
Absolutely.
to say the least.
Such a
And
wide area.
that's what Brian said right here. He's got the weather bucket, which is the most accurate weather model ever, but it only helps when it actually happened, which, you know, hindsight's 2020, right? I mean, anybody can make a prediction after it happened. But still, I get it, Brian. Every grid within 900 miles is also getting snow and ice, and that's
Absolutely.
the truth, man. This definitely could be something else. Have you seen the latest models in terms of some of the ice accumulation? Check this out, Denton. This is just one of the models, and honestly, this is some of the lower amounts.
Yeah, this was the lower one.
This is the European model, and what does it take to bring down a power line? About a half inch of ice, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can
depending
even
on if the wind is light.
Exactly. Yeah. So you know the power lines are built to a wind loading factor, and when you get that ice on there, you get that Rhine icing, especially. You know, it starts building outward. You know that ups your wind load factor by just a tremendous amount. So I can tell you too, you never want to see the icing in this corridor right here, because the terrain is really tough. You have the way the grid is in that area. It's an older infrastructure, and you know, I've spent a lot of time in the Ozarks and the Ouachita Mountains, and you know, rebuilding that infrastructure, but it's still really old. And it takes a long time to get there. Some of those crews are coming out of Northwest Arkansas to service Boonville, to service Greenwood, and when you have to roll trucks that long, it really, your restoration time can grow, just because of the amount of terrain they have to traverse. When Mount Magazine is a station that it's just in a really tough area. Whenever you get a ton of ice on the ground, that was one of the stations that they had trouble restoring whenever you had the large ice storm in the 2000s, because it's just really tough to get to. So
Christmas of 2000, that was a big one. Now that's one model. All right, we're going to look at some other ones, and we're going to kind of cycle through this, and you're in the background. You can give me your thoughts on this. What's really concerning is every single model shows the potential for a significant icing across southern sections of our weather coverage area. Now, not all of them, but some of them. And I do believe that ice glaze is going to be possible across Northwest Arkansas. This is not populating the numbers, unfortunately, but you get the idea. Anytime you see those purples, you're looking at over a 1/4 inch of ice. So the graph has that. There's the European model, and that only uses Fort Smith. That's a point forecast for that. That's still enough ice to start kind of weighing down some of the tree branches. Look at Little Rock at 1.62. That could be absolutely devastating. I do think that this storm is going to bring not only major snow impacts and major sleet impacts, but I do believe there's going to be a significant ice storm somewhere in the country. It could be, I personally think it's going to be southern Arkansas. That's just and western Mississippi. That's going to be the area that gets really blasted. Now, the GFS is interesting, Denton, because it really, what it does is it brings in the cold air really fast. And number one, it's got a cold air bias. It moves in the stuff too fast. And it still shows ice, though. I mean, almost a 1/2 inch in Little Rock, and that is the lower end. And then the NAM just goes absolutely bonkers.
And the GFS also has a lot of snow in that same area that it has a lot of ice, which is really, really not good. So it's a compounding issue.
I think Madison County is going to be mostly snow, but we're talking a lot of snow, and we'll get into that here in just a bit. So we're looking at some stuff as you're talking, and we also have some other stuff to share with you. So first of all, Denton, appreciate that insight. If you can think of anything else that you want to tell people, just chime in whenever. So that's the ice accumulation, and that is a wide swath. We'll show you a little bit more on that and load that up, but let's take a look at the snowfall too, and then we'll show the snow accumulation map. Now, you've been looking at weather a long time. I've been looking at weather a long time. Davion, you've been looking at weather a long time. Have you ever seen the models just absolutely so consistent
No.
on breaking out that much snowfall, and all the models show
Yeah,
it?
and that's what's concerning. Although, of course, every model is going to tell a slightly different story. I think the concerning part is that every single model run that we've looked at over the past, I'll get say 12 to 24 hours or so, have consistently painted a decent amount of snowfall over our area. over
Decent for the
and over.
northeastern United
Yeah,
States.
decent. Yeah,
For a
decent.
nor'easter.
A lot for us. A decent
yeah.
for Northeast. Yeah.
That's a great thing. Remember that. Prepare for the worst and hope for the best. You got it.
Always.
You know how weather can change. Things can happen. But so far, the system is not changing, except for maybe where that sleet area is. There could be a whole lot of sleet in parts of the river valley. Denton, check this out. We're going to bring this up. This is the snowfall accumulation of all the various computer models. And now, finally, thank you, Nam, it populates the contours.
Back from his lunch break.
Yep, back from, exactly. Went for a dinner break during my 10 o'clock. But nevertheless, look at that. 8.7 in Fort Smith. Now, keep in mind, this goes until Sunday morning. There may be still a little bit of snow that falls, and we're going to look more in timing. The NAM showing about 12 inches, and the look at Fort Smith, not as much. It has a little bit better of a handle, I think, on that warm nose. We're going to talk more about the warm nose too. But look at the GFS for snowfall. And this, by the way, I'll be honest, these snow accumulations, Denton, are 10 to 1. Our ratio won't be 10 to 1.
Right.
So if you want, well, we're going to bring this graphic back up, and you're talking about dry snow versus wet snow. Why does dry snow pile up more when you have a liquid water equivalent of a greater ratio, such as like 15 or 20 to 1? How does that work?
Well, with it being a drier snow, it's lighter. It gets carried by the wind a lot, and so that it causes it to pile up. And then it's something else to think about too, is as that snow accumulates, especially on the electrical infrastructure, and then it starts to melt through, there's not as much water concentration in that snow, and so those particles and everything just kind of sit there and flow downward, and it creates a very nasty residue. And that's why a drier snow will be kind of a dirtier snow. And I think as growing up, your parents always told you don't eat the snow that's dry powder because it's got all the toxins in it. I don't think that's necessarily the case, but it's certainly the wives' tale lends itself to the truth of the fact that those crystalline structures hold more particulate in them, and that just causes more chaos. And like you said, that's something that it'll kind of compound the issues with all the other issues we talked about. Dan, you asked one thing if I had anything else to share about it, and I will say something for my lineman friends out there. If you hook up a generator to your house, the thing to do is to prepare for that earlier than now. But if you do that, make sure that your house is isolated from the lines, from the mains, because it is a very deadly situation for all of us that's on the power grid. But the linemen are the frontline first responders of that, and I have known too many people to get injured and seriously hurt in this business because someone had a generator on the line and backfeeding it, and something you might not think about. You would think, oh, my little generator is not going to do a whole lot, but if that backfeeds through the line, that's going to step up to 12,470 or whatever your local 13.2, whatever your local distribution voltage is, because it's going to go through that transformer that powers your house, that steps that voltage down. Transformers work both ways, so that's why it's so deadly for the people working on the lines. So it's just absolutely imperative that you have proper electrical isolation from the grid and from the mains. If you hook up a generator to your house, it's make sure at the very least you have your main breaker turned off. If you can turn off your disconnect at your electrical box, it's very imperative that is something that you take into consideration, because we all have families. We all want to go home, and we're all you're working long shifts in these storm restorations area. I've worked more storms than I care to tally up, and you're at the end of the day, you're tired, you're cold, you're hungry, you're wet, and it's harder to always think about those dangers that are out there. So it's just absolutely imperative, for if you do that, to be aware of that.
That's some great information, Dan. Yeah, there's something I never would have thought of. Obviously you always hear about generators. You want to leave them outside.
Absolutely.
You don't want to have them, where you can get carbon monoxide poisoning.
Exactly.
That's something that we always talk about too. Just great information there. And what's really nice is our neighbor next door, they just put in a generator that can probably power 2 of their homes. So guess who's going to be really good friends with the neighbor that's right next door to us? The one that's Denton lives really close to me, like right down the street, which is really nice. Very convenient. Such a great guy and a great friend of mine for so many years. Plus a really good program. We're going to show you some of the stuff that we've got cooking up. But anyways, what I was saying is the house that's being constructed right next to mine, beautiful home. And I talked to the guy that was installing the Generac, and he's like, it's like a 25 kilowatt or something like that. It's like, yeah, this thing is a beast. All right, back to the totals. Enough of the blabbing. But I think important information. Maybe me was blabbing. But let's take a look here at these totals. We're going to bring this up full, Denton. This is what we've got for our snowfall accumulation. Now, this is preliminary, folks. Preliminary. Now, I know you're not seeing, if you live outside of the weather coverage area, you're like, what about me? Well, when we're on TV, we cover a certain area. And honestly, it's tough to cover a large area. We'll show you what the models show. But there is a look at Northwest Arkansas. Initial thoughts, Denton. What do you think? 8 to 12. Might be a little on the high end if that sleet line lifts northward, but I'm putting you on the spot. Do you think we're way off, or do you think we have kind of a little bit of an idea?
I think it might be a little high. So we all know that GFS, it always trends high on snow accumulation. But with this system, and I think you're going to, I don't want to tip the programming too much here, but I think you're going to hit on it. Even a lot of meteorologists are very interested in the structure of the system, the size of the system. They're flying planes into it to see, the pressure that they're reading right now, because it's a very large system. So, people often ask, like, oh, the weathermen, they get this wrong. There's so many variables that go into snow accumulation. I know I'm preaching to the choir here for you, but
yeah,
this is it's as easy as for me to forecast and say, oh, there's going to be a power outage, but I can't tell you, exactly where, but we know it's going to happen. This is going to be a large system. It's going to be a heavy impact system. I'm going to say in the Washington County area, I'm going to say 7 inches. That may be a little conservative, but we'll see.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. Yeah, that's a little bit on the lower end. Now, I know that's not the 25 inches that the models are showing, but you got to remember that what that's doing is converting all precipitation, every single bit, into snow. And also that Kachera doesn't really work very well. It's better than the 10-to-1 ratio, but we're probably going to be about a 15 to 17 ratio. That's what I saw on some of the models and the buff kit soundings. We can get into that too. We'll look at that. But there's the river valley. Why significantly less? And this doesn't even include the sleet and snow accumulations, which really are sleet and ice accumulations, which really we can't even show on these models. I do want to show you this. People are asking about timing, and I think this is a good point. I've been mentioning this, that I think the time of this is going to be a little bit, let's just say it's going to be a little bit later than what we were originally thinking. Like, there may be a little bit of some freezing drizzle potentially, because, the models can always underestimate just how much energy moves in. But here's a look at what we've got for the timing. So 8 o'clock in the morning, everything's fine. It may be a little bit of mist, but here's a look at the precipitation that starts moving in, and you're going to see this becomes widespread. Notice how the HRRR has rain in Northwest Arkansas at 4:30 in the afternoon, and then it continues to spread out. Now look at this 9 o'clock. You ready for this, Denton? I showed this on the air. This is the high resolution rapid refresh. sometimes a little overdone and bullish on the warm nose. We'll talk more about that in just a bit. But that area of really warm temperatures aloft, which is melting the snowflakes and becoming this rain with a mix in the higher elevations, that's really nosed up. We look at the NAM 3 kilometers shortly after that, and that's the same time, by the way.
Wow.
There's no different time. That's just a completely different solution. So now we have to play into account that warm nose. How strong is that going to be? That is going to play a crucial role in our amounts and precipitation snow totals. But here's a look at the NAM 3 kilometer. Then it just becomes solid snow. And this is some really heavy snow too. We get banding effects, we get deformation zones, we get all sorts of effects, jet coupling. All these ingredients are going to be a part of this snowfall. And look at that 8 a.m., it's still cranking. But at the same time, look at the river valley. The river valley is showing that pink shaded area. Now, Denton, something that I think it's time to show this real quick. So that is a little bit about the precipitation. And notice how the mix just shows pink for everything. That means freezing rain and sleet. However, on Mega Doppler, as I'll show you here, we'll bring this up. We got a brand new color table. And thanks to Denton Sachs's brilliant mind, we're able to change the banners and alter the banners where it actually changes the product in real time. So this is so cool. Notice that we've got sleet and freezing rain. The Mega Doppler source will be able to tell you where's sleet and where's freezing rain. And that mosaic does a pretty good job, Denton. Really does.
Yes, it really does. Yeah, it does great. And the graphics, they look great. I'm going to throw a little love back to Dan on that one because you did pretty good graphic design on that. I convinced him to break into Photoshop. He did pretty good.
Yeah, I was definitely dabbling on that, and Denton knows a lot more about that. But I want to show you real quick. We're going to take off precipitation mode, and this is where we can go into base reflectivity and look at the model, how it changes, or the radar. So if we were to go into during severe weather mode, let's say we want to bring up normalized rotation, known as the tornado tracker. Look at that. It changes. I'm not at the radar computer. I'm over here in front of our Stream Deck, and I can change this. Let's say we want to go to the tornado detector. It changes the product. It changes the banner, so we don't have to ever worry about the colors not matching up with or the legend, essentially. Hail indication. Remember how it went from quarter to golf ball, or it went from quarter to baseball? I think we needed to alter that. But now it's got quarter, golf ball, hen egg, baseball, softball, so you can get to see the different hail sizes. And we also have the different polygons on there as well. So anyways, that's kind of a look at what we've got with some of the new information and some of the new tech that we've got cooking.
And Dan, you might point out there, people are saying, "Hey, it's not showing anything." It's a really good sign, right? It's not showing anything. We don't want the severe weather on top of this.
And that's the laughing right there when they're going, ha, 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 it's not showing anything. It will. One of these days, it will. And it's definitely going to have that winter precipitation mode. So let's go into the weather producer, shall we? And then we can dive into a little bit more. So some really cool stuff with the radar. I love how people are wondering, hey, how are you changing the banner with the product? Yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. Appreciate you, Denton, for sure. All right, let's take a look at the weather producer. We're going to add this to the stage. And there it is. We're going to bring this up full. Denton, tell us what we got cooking here.
All right, so this is actually two products in one that we've built and made. So the things that you've seen on the side here, and we'll change our logo a little bit on that. But so the things that you see on the side are a generated product that we have control over, to put our warnings, watches, and different information in here. And that really helps us out as far as being able to be just give you more information, maybe while the weather team is talking, about something inside of, in the southern part of the river valley. We can have information scrolling about Northwest Arkansas. Everyone always wants to know, hey, what about this place? What about this place? The side panel gives us a lot of area to where we can put in free form text, so we can say, hey, this is your all clear list. This is the areas that are no longer affected. And what we have here is actually a pretty cool situation as well. So the feed that you're seeing, these are the RDOT cameras, that are a product of the Arkansas Department of Highway Transportation. It's actually a great product, and they are, this is something that they are, provide as a public service. We're able now to show those cameras in a more effective way, and get those whenever there's either there's an accident on the road or there's weather moving into the area. You can show those in a pretty quick fashion, and all of this can be controlled from a weather producer position. So it just really gives you a lot better of a product of a coverage, and it takes some of the workload off of the people in the studio. And that's what we're really trying. We're bringing a lot of AI information into this. We're bringing a lot of different data feeds into this automatically. And that really helps the people out in the studio. I've been a part of severe weather media for quite a while as well. And it's one thing that it's, people don't realize how taxing it is to talk for a 6-hour event and to articulate that information as it changes. And all these information streams come in at once. People always calling and texting you, and there's just information coming in from multiple different sources, and it becomes really hard to parse all that data. So this is just some of these tools that we can put together and just make the product better, and obviously increase public safety. That's what it's really all about.
You're going to be able to see, Denton, these cameras showing travel conditions this weekend, and we'll be able to show instead of one just at the first at the time, we'll be able to show up to 9 at one time. Very cool. And of course, we got our 25 panel, when we're talking about our WeatherBug network cameras. So we got you covered. Nobody else really has that at all. And so we're super excited about that. Also, too, you can see that we can bring up single mode. There you see the crawl. We made the text a little bit bigger, easier to read. It's got the warning information on there, and we even put watches. We also have a bunch of information on warnings, and it'll alert us when warnings are out. So really, really beefing up our live stream to keep you guys safe, to let you know about everything that's happening. So this is someone, April, asking this question, Denton. Should I be freaking out about losing electricity in Fayetteville? I mean, that's like asking if a tornado is going to hit Fayetteville when there's a chance of severe weather. There's always, obviously, a huge, question mark on that. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit tough to say on that.
Yeah, for sure. It is something to be concerned about and be prepared for. Definitely have the backstock of water. Have some meals that are maybe not refrigeration dependent. And have an alternate safe heating source if you can. But this is something that it helps to prepare in advance for, and you certainly have time right now to do some preparation. I doubt you're going to get an electrician out to install a Generac. I'm sure if you throw enough money at them, maybe they'll come out. But just in a general sense, there's a lot of things you can do to prepare for things like that. I will say though, the grid operators, both the SWEPCO and when you have the like Ozarks, Carroll Electric, the AECC folks, they know what they're doing. They've been doing this a while, and they know what they're doing. So if you lose power, they are actively working on it. Some of the smart grid systems that are out there today now even reconfigure the grid, and we have a lot of that in Northwest Arkansas. That's a big initiative that I worked on personally, that it automatically reconfigures the grid for you without it can reconfigure the grid and restore power before the information even reaches the dispatcher's desk to let them know that this even happened, a lot of times that information will come in, and then the smart grid system will report in what it did to restore power. And I know several people that worked very hard on that different types of equipment in the area, and so it's really as we increase technology across the grid, the reliability will go up. But certainly, it's something to prepare for. You can't stop all of them, so you have to prepare and be ready for those outages when they do occur.
Exactly. All right. Well, we're going to get back, Denton, real quack.
Real quack.
This is a real quack system, but we're going to kind of dive into a bunch of data. Then we'll get to questions. That way we can kind of go through a bunch of stuff. We'll show you some soundings, and then we'll get back into the questions. But in order to kind of keep this streamlined, here's the future track. We're just going to go through all of these things at once because a lot of people have questions. This might answer some of your questions. So first of all, the European model, it's showing a lot of precipitation moving in Friday night. If you're wondering about when I think it moves in, I think personally after 6 o'clock in the evening, before 10 it begins. But it really cranks up during the day on Saturday. And I think overnight Friday into Saturday morning, things will be going downhill. Remember, the temperatures are going to be cold. We'll show you that too coming up in just a bit. But look at all of this widespread precipitation. I mean, I'll take the camera off the screen. Davion, your mom in the Carolinas now may be getting more ice than snow.
Yeah, very concerning.
It's all about that warm nose. What I did on this model, if you notice, there's these wind streams that are showing up. Well, that's not the surface wind. That's actually the 850 millibar winds. So you can see how it's more blue, even though they're moving out of the south. But look at how they're yellow and orange. This is some really warm air aloft. And what that does is I'll show you with winter precipitation types is that takes the snow, melts it into rain, and then if it's deep enough, it'll refreeze as sleet. The cold air is deep enough at the surface, it'll refreeze into sleet, or it'll be freezing rain. But look at that tremendous warm nose. I really do think we're looking at a significant ice storm. And you might remember from day one, positively tilted trough, I was mentioning how I think this is an ice event. Now, granted, it might not be Northwest Arkansas. It doesn't look like it, thankfully, but it does look like for our neighbors in Southern Arkansas, this has all the makings of just chaos, to be honest with you, Denton. It's positively tilt. It's going to be warm tomorrow, Rachel, mid-50s. It's right ahead of the front. It's always the warmest day right ahead of the cold front. There you see, look at all that precipitation still continuing through Sunday, 5 a.m., and then it finally moves out by the early afternoon on Sunday when that dry slot comes in. Here's a look at the winter storm watch. By the way, overnight tonight, would not be surprised in the least if this gets upgraded to a winter storm warning. And Janie, to answer your question on this, I honestly think it depends on the scenario. At long range, I do think the European is more accurate than the GFS, but not every time.
Not every time.
And also the NAM is not the best sometimes on precipitation, but neither is the HRRR. So, it's like not every model is a perfect solution. Now, Denton, you've been playing with that Weather Next model. I tried looking at that, and I wasn't able to look at it. Did we lose that access or just need to kind of launch that back up?
Yeah. So Google
slam the door on you.
Well, no. So the way so it uses the Google Earth Engine to compute that. They've changed their terms on how they do the computing for the Earth Engine model. So I haven't updated the website to do it. I've been working on other things. We've been working on graphics. So
really, you've been working on stuff. I wouldn't
little bit,
have
and I have a real job too. So
I know exactly.
It's and I work do a lot of work with my church and things like that. So and
a pregnant wife and a little girl.
A pregnant wife. Yeah, I have a son on the way. So
and we appreciate Morgan for allowing us to do this here.
Absolutely.
All right, back to this. Now, look at. I do believe that winter storm warning is going to come out. We're talking sleet accumulations, could be up to 2 inches, maybe more. And then you'll notice here we've got 4 to 12 inches area-wide light ice accumulations. Very, very difficult travel. I do personally believe, if you ask me, and you're watching this stream and you're thinking about where power is going to go out, I really honestly do believe Southern LaFleur County, Scott County, Logan County, not looking forward to this. I believe that winter storm warning will be upgraded to a ice storm warning if the models are continuing to show what they do show. And hopefully it's more sleet there. That's always a possibility. Real quick, I do want to go into precipitation types. I know you got the wind chill loaded too. Davion, I'll let you chime in on here. I'm doing all the talking. I know.
Precipitation types.
Yeah, I know. We're going to do precipitation types, and I want to show you this because I think it really does explain what's happening with this system and how it works. So this is something that we have, that an explainer graphic, if you will. So winter precipitation types, when it's rain in the wintertime, you got the warm layer of air basically takes those snowflakes, immediately melts them into rain, and then it just stays rain as the whole time, right?
Warm at the ground,
yeah.
Warm in the mid layers of the atmosphere, cold aloft.
All right. So then we'll go here. We got you on there, Davion.
Okay.
The next step is freezing rain.
Freezing rain.
Now, the freezing rain is where the cold air is very close to the ground.
Right. The cold air, the ground is cold enough, but you have cold air aloft as well. It melts the snow into a raindrop, but there isn't much time for the rain to refreeze while it's falling because the air is still so warm. But down at the surface, it's cold enough for freezing temperatures. So once the rain hits the ground, of course, it'll freeze over. And that's honestly the most concerning aspect about wintry precipitation, because that's where you get the problems of accumulation on power lines as well as road conditions, poor road conditions with this particular setup. We see this a lot in the Carolinas with cold air damming. That's usually the setup where we get this kind of precipitation.
Yeah. And then you got wind too that's on top of it as well.
Exactly.
We'll talk about that, Ashley. So the loading on the power lines, especially in that area, will be a problem.
Exactly.
Now here's where the cold air is a little bit deeper. Remember when we were showing that warm nose of air isn't quite as strong, so you got a deeper cold air column, and then what happens with that?
Now that the snow that melts in the warm layer, it'll go into a raindrop, but then it's allowed to refreeze, and that's where you get the little ice pellets, the sleet, once it hits the ground. So these are the ones you see where once it hits the ground, it bounces off, and these actually can accumulate a lot as well, especially when it's heavy enough. And it certainly looks like that's exactly what we're going to be seeing in some parts of the coverage area, especially along and south of Interstate 40.
And then you got cold air all the way from the surface up. This appears to be Northwest Arkansas for most of the duration of the event,
right? But
there could be that initial phase where that warm layer of air moves in. So just to show you how that kind of works with a 3D explanation, imagine that we've got that snow that's coming in, but at the same time, you've got this warm nose of air that's coming in from the southwest. Watch what happens, just like what you're seeing here. And that warm nose of air will erode the snowflakes, melt them into raindrops, cold enough where it becomes sleet. But if you look, there might be a location where that warm air, when it really starts to surge in, is not quite as deep, the cold air is not quite as deep, and that's where you get your freezing rain. So
that's a cool graphic.
Yeah, that was fun.
Cool
that was fun to make. I'm showing some of Davion all my things, and then as that warm air continues to expand, that's where your precipitation will change. Here's another graphic that will show you that warm nose, and so you've got very deep warm nose where you've got rain, freezing rain, and then we go here. We'll take this off real quick. And so there's that nose. So now that you understand that, and now that you understand the different precipitation types, let's go back to that European model, and we're going to look at that warm nose of air.
Exactly.
The brighter the oranges and the yellows, guess what? That means basically the stronger the warm air and the deeper that warm air is. So let's go back here, shall we? All right. So we're gonna step through this in time. As we go through time, notice how there's really nothing going on Thursday. Thursday is going to be a beautiful day. High clouds will be on the increase, but then you'll see as we go throughout time, now notice the warm nose of air. So this is that 850 millibar flow, essentially where that warm nose is. There's the precipitation, That's not all snow because remember, we're adding that warm layer of air in between two cold layers of air. Then you see right here, look at this cranking up.
Oh, man.
That's some really strong and warm temperatures. So that creates that frozen precipitation, not in the form of snow, but sleet and freezing rain. And the farther north you go, the more sleet. The farther south you go, the more freezing rain. And then we start getting, notice how that warm air advection now shifts eastward. So what happens over here? This is more of a sleet snow combination because the air gets deeper and colder. In fact, we've loaded up some buff kit. Like I said, man, we are geeking out big time.
Oh, yeah.
Denton, are you bored yet? I think he might have popped off for here, man. Yeah, he might have ducked out. Oh, he's still there. He's about to pop back in.
Sorry, apparently my phone died there. So
oh yeah, no, you're good. You're good. Yeah, so here's the soundings. A lot of people want to know amount of soundings. Let's talk about this here real quick. I'm sliding over to the Weather 2 computer, and this is the NAM nest. Notice when the green and the red line, this is the temperature, this is the dew point. These lines that are skewed are called skew T's. Those are a line of equal temperature, isotherms. See how that saturation is occurring, but it's not quite saturated. So really, really dry. But over time, that mid-level moisture starts to increase. As that happens, you're starting to see at this point, by 10 o'clock Friday, you can see it right here at the bottom of the screen, 4Z, 10 o'clock, you've got some precipitation that's starting as snow, but it's not very much. And on top of that, the dendritic growth zone, which is where snowflakes form, is not super saturated. Yeah. But as we go into time, now look. Oh boy, that's snow. Profile. That's snow, and that's snow, and that's snow. And then look, this is starting to pick up on some heavy snow. And that's as far out as that NAM nest model goes. We could do the NAM here, and we can look at this and go out a little bit farther. Now, one of the things you're watching is right here is freezing. So will this be a degree or two warmer? Because if it is, that could be more sleet than snow, which will kill your snowfall accumulations. Then look at that. That's 3 dots right there showing extremely heavy snow. Remember, anything to the left of this 0 is below freezing. And then as we move along in time, and Davion, you're monitoring the comments. If there's something in there that's really pressing, let me know.
Okay.
Saturday night, there may be a lull, and if there is, and there's those breaks in the precipitation, we could actually experience what are called ice pellets, which is sleet. And so maybe sleet mixes in, and then it starts to turn back to snow again. So I'm telling you, folks, it's such a complicated animal, which is exactly why we don't give snow accumulations more than 4 days out.
There's 2 things in the comments I'm starting to see.
Okay. We're going to go a little bit farther south real quick before we get to those comments. Now, you saw anything to the left of this blue line is below freezing and frozen. But anything to the right of that is above freezing. So now look, we've got very cold temperatures at the surface. Oh, yeah. And then you've got this really warm layer of air. Warm nose about 5,000 feet above the ground. Notice if we go here and we turn this on to pressure, that's exactly at 850 millibars. That's where your nose is. All this is melting this snow as it falls down into here, becomes rain, and then it refreezes on contact because it doesn't have enough time to refreeze into a solid. Yeah, that's still showing ice pellets. Look at that.
We don't want to see that.
It's not quite a freezing rain profile, is it? But it's darn close.
Pretty close to it.
Man, look at how cold that is.
Yeah, that is an impressive sounding.
Now we're going to go to the GFS. The GFS will probably show a freezing rain profile. Let's go back here a little ways and see what it shows. So it's interesting. It's actually taking all of that freezing rain. Oh yeah, the GFS was stronger than everything else on the warm air advection. So we're down here. We're a little south of Scott County. Let's go to Fort Smith. Let's see what Fort Smith shows. So this is a Fort Smith sounding. Let's see, saturating by about Friday evening. Then you can see that's really heavy snow.
Very heavy snow.
And then it kind of dries out. There's the lull. That's going to be a little bit of a lull. Right about midday, then it starts to pick up again Saturday night into Sunday morning. And look at that, Denton. That's snowing all the way through about noon. And then finally that dry air comes in, kills the snow, clears the precipitation out, and then that system is gone. Now, one of the things that we can do with Buff Kit that you can't do with a lot of other stuff is we can look at the snow ratio. So we're going to look at this by clicking on max temp in the profile. And so you're seeing this. This is 10-to-1 ratios. Do you see the line on there very often? No. You see it more up by the 15. And that's basically, so this is working your way from left to right. So you've got, it can be really confusing. But you got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday as you're working from left to right. And there you see where the accumulation is mainly looking at around a 13 to 15, but it gets a little colder Sunday, about a 15, over a 15-to-1 ratio. And then if you look at the snow accumulation, what we can do is you can go on here and you can hover over this and you can go and look at the very bottom of the screen. It shows about 12.5 inches. So I know it's pretty small, but let's go back and close this real quick. Let's go to a Fayetteville one. Let's go to the overview and see what our ratios are going to be there. And notice it's a lot colder, so it's got more of than a 10-to-1. Now, look, the model does something pretty crazy here, which, that could throw some things off. But nevertheless, you're getting it, and you're understanding kind of how it goes. So it's really complicated. Are you lost? That's why these social media posts that put out all this stuff,
preliminary.
6 days out saying how much snow is happening. Yes, if the Weather Channel app or the Apple Weather app said 11 to 13 inches, it got one forecast right out of 100 in terms of a long-term forecast. So 2009 was a disaster. Okay, the questions that you were wanting me to get
so
to.
there's a few people asking about blizzard conditions. Obviously, it's very.
I don't think we're going to hit blizzard conditions. Blizzard conditions includes a lot of wind, and so if we look at the wind, I'm going to go something on that's on the higher end of the wind gusts. And give me just a second. You can also talk about while I'm bringing this up. You can bring up the extreme cold.
So that was the next thing. I saw a few comments that were asking about, are the roads going to be clear on Monday? And short answer I can tell you right now is no. Yeah. So we have honestly, I think this is just as extreme as the precipitation in terms of this storm. We have extremely bitterly cold temperatures coming down along with this storm and well behind this system as well. So we have an extreme cold watch that's already been put into effect, and this will be allowed to expire not until the Monday afternoon time frame, even though we're still going to be below freezing around then. And that's because you can see dangerously cold wind chill values as well as air temperatures as low as minus 13 degrees below zero. So this is going to result in hypothermia if precautions are not taken seriously or avoided. And that's the thing I want to stretch. A lot of times we see winter storms and, children. And when I was a child, I got excited about being outside in the snow and enjoying all of that. This is one of those things where it's not really more so exciting. It's more so dangerous. And we're likely going to see this extreme cold watch turn into a warning as we continue to get closer. And here's a cool graphic that Chief Meteorologist Dan Skoff made a little earlier today. So extreme cold watches, that's the one we're showing. And that's issued when you have dangerously cold air with or without wind chills that are going to feel like or actually is minus 10 degrees below zero or even lower, of course. And that's when it's possible. So, of course, you want to check the forecast. That's what the watch that's in place is right now. Now, as we go throughout the next couple of days, we're likely going to see that shift into a warning. And as I take my face off here really quickly so you can see that, and that's when those temperatures that we're expecting to be minus 10 degrees below zero are likely within the next 24 hours. So that's going to, of course, again, lead to things like frostbite, hypothermia if you're outside for extended periods of time. Even if you do have the correct layers on, if you're outside for very extended periods of time, you're certainly going to still have running the risk of that as well. And if you don't believe me, here's a look at the computer models. And the Euro has been aggressive with the overnight lows as we go
say the least.
To say the least. So the pulse points aren't on here, so I have to move this with my arm. So bear with me really quickly. But you can see as we go throughout Saturday afternoon, you see those temperatures and wind chills right beside each other. Watch what happens as we go throughout your Sunday and into Monday. Look at those wind chills stay relatively below zero all day. And then you see
that's just brutally cold. Look
right
at
there.
look at Rogers at minus 25. That's
Exactly.
just a light breeze too. I mean, we're
Exactly.
talking 25 below zero, and we got northwest winds at only 2 miles per hour.
Exactly. These are temperatures where if you
Keep going too, it might get colder.
It might get colder.
Yeah.
We start to warm up. But notice Monday afternoon, we're still not above freezing. And we don't get above freezing really just barely until Tuesday afternoon, and that will be short-lived as well. So
and if we get over a foot of snow on the ground,
it's not going
that's
anywhere.
not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere.
It's not melting anytime soon. We're not seeing the sun.
Yeah.
Maybe briefly, I doubt it.
Right.
I want to show you this. This is for the winds. So not the wind, but the wind, the winds,
The winds.
WINDS. Here's Friday. Friday gets pretty gusty, but this is before the onset of the storm. And then once that snow starts to fall, but look at, we're talking 20 mile per hour gusts in parts of the river valley and Ouachitas. And that, if there's a lot of ice, that could be significant. I would like to know what the Sperry Pilts Index is looking at.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, Denton, I see you got something on there, and I know you're on here still. Show us what we've got in terms of, the models showing the freezing rain and the sleet and the snow. You've kind of got it broken down, unlike our weather graphics that combine sleet and freezing rain.
Yeah, so that's what I was just looking at here. Really, it's just it remains in the southern part of the viewing area. It remains, not snow pretty much through the entirety of the event until you get towards the very end. So it's just, we do have a situation where we can have a tremendous amount of power outages in the southern part of the viewing area here, and it's just really shaping up to be a pretty serious situation if these models hold true here. So this is the GFS, so we'll have to see if that holds true. But it doesn't switch it to snow until just the very end of the event here.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. That's another thing. We always mention the 4 Ps with all the cold weather. This is when we're serious and saying you want to make sure you're dripping the faucets, opening your cabinets. But also another pro tip, if you're inside, and especially if the power goes out, you want to make sure you limit access to your rooms, close doors to trap warmer air, of course, and that'll help things as well. But these are the kind of temperatures, as well as, of course, the overall event, where you want to make sure you're using precautions for your pipes as well, because pipes will freeze and burst if precautions aren't taken with these kind of temperatures lasting this long as well.
Yeah. Now, tomorrow, when we get to Thursday, we're going to have a lot more information. We're going to have a lot more. Winter storm severity index will be updated. You've got, we were talking about the probability of exceeding winter storm warning criteria. Let's see what this shows now. And this is where it really gets interesting in the River Valley. I kind of sniff out a bust that's happening somewhere for snow totals along and south of I-40. Because look at this. You've got that heavy snow corridor that's over northwest Arkansas, but you go south and the probabilities, my goodness, do they drop off fast. So, Colleen, you're asking about snow totals. I personally think, it'll range, and we'll go through our forecast accumulation map, but and the new Euro is starting to come in. We'll look at that as well. But this shows the uncertainty. The probability shows the uncertainty, and this is not certain at all.
At all. That is a steep drop-off after you get past I-40.
And then you got the ice accumulation that's farther south. So that is for snow. If I were to click on this, let's see if it's just something easy as changing, and it could be. Hold on, let me look. Would it actually be this easy where I could just change one thing? I doubt it, but my goodness, I can't tell you this is going to be a significant. What are you doing? There we go. Hold on. I'm going to try and see if it does the ice accumulation probability. Hey, it did.
It does.
All right. So there's your ice probability, and that's over warning criteria, which is a 1/2 inch. And notice it doesn't really have it in the river valley.
At all.
So the reason for that is that sleet eating away, just absolutely eating away at the snow totals. And then you showed that, and so it's going to be questionable. This is a preliminary account in terms of snow totals. Do not hold us to it. Do not put our face to the fire. This is just a little bit of essentially a preliminary forecast as new information comes in. So, and we might need to lower that just because of what's happening with the sleet that could eat away at those totals. But, regardless if we get sleet or not, it still is winter precipitation. And sleet is terrible to drive on.
It is.
I mean, it is slick.
It accumulates fast.
Yeah, and it's like putting marbles on the ground. I mean, seriously. I mean, you don't want to walk with marbles on the ground. So
we want to drive with
them. Yeah. There's the accumulation for Northwest Arkansas. We work our way south. I think personally, Van Buren, Fort Smith, 5 to 6 inches. I know someone says, I hope this system is a bust. I really want to see what this system does, because there's definitely some issues that could be taking place. Again, I'm just going to show you real fast why everything's kind of evolving and changing. This is a massive system that's developing, and this is a large low pressure system that continues to churn.
That thing really got its act together today.
So it did. In fact, if we go back, this is fun. This is one thing I do love, among other things, with the weather company and Max. We're going to go back 96 hours. Okay. Now, it's going to take a little while to load this, but it's kind of cool that we can do this. So we go back 96 hours, and we can see how this system has evolved. So look at that on the West Coast. See how that churning and spinning is happening. But the model showed that this system would break off, and that's exactly what happened. But then it really started to strengthen. Man, look at that. So there it is. All this fluid, just crazy, chaotic motion, breaking off right at this point. Here's the low developing, and then bam, there's the now. Now, here's what the models show. And this is one thing to note, is that this still isn't going to be a perfect forecast, because all these little disturbances that are moving in from Baja, which, by the way, I had the Baja blast yesterday, went to Taco Bell specifically.
Nice.
I think those things need to be cheaper than $5.
I think so, too.
And on top of that, a large is like this big. It's like,
they're a little stingy.
That's a large. That might just be one reason to go work at Taco Bell, is to just have the Baja Blast freezies.
Work one shift
that
a week.
Could be why I didn't get any sleep last night. I'll tell you why I didn't get any sleep last night. We'll go through this, but there's a storm system coming through. Look at all the energy. I mean, not only is there energy coming from the west, but there's also from the north. And Davion, you mentioned that. Denton, look at all of these pieces of energy. And not only that, you're combining with really cold air aloft. There is going to be a tremendous amount of rising motion. And that's just unbelievable. So one of the things that we're learning from this system, and why the forecast might have increased a little bit, a high impact winter weather will happen. This is a big time storm with all the ingredients coming into place. Timing is a little slower. Don't expect anything Friday morning. We'll give you more details on the exact timing when we have the 48-hour forecast. System continues to get stronger, as you saw looking off the West Coast. This is why they call it bombocyclogenesis. So bombogenesis is when it drops 24 millibars in 24 hours. And then, as you'll see here, heavy snow accumulation and with sleet and ice. And those are all things that, that we're continuing to fine tune. So just a crazy day, man. Crazy day. Here's all the snow accumulations and stuff like that. And that's the very latest one. Big time swath of snow. Let's look real quick at some ice and snow graphs real fast. So here's the snow. I mean, you name a model, it does not.
Every model.
Every single one shows the bullseye over Northwest Arkansas. Now, here's the thing. We're going to end it with this, that the models could totally flip tomorrow.
They could.
I totally expect them to. When we come back, we're going to be like, nothing. What? Then everybody is going to be freaking out, including us. I mean, maybe it happens. I don't know. It's a lot of energy coming in.
It
So
is.
I do want to mention this. Meteorologists are people, Davion, and you were talking about this earlier too.
I was.
And mental health is a real deal, man. And it's a tough science, man. Okay, yeah, we're not right all the time. I know the story about how meteorologists are always wrong and we can still get paid for it. I've heard it a million times.
Yeah.
It's over. It's annoying, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yes, I know we're wrong. You're probably wrong in your job too sometimes. Nobody's perfect.
At all.
No.
Nobody.
Nobody's ever perfect. But, some of the comments can be real hurtful, to be honest with you. You were kind of talking a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was kind of expressing kind of just my thoughts, because obviously I think it also is being like so young into the media as well. It's like a lot of people they hear you and they don't really take what you're saying seriously. No. And sometimes it's even the people that are closest to you, they kind of like laugh things off, or like, I'm serious, guys. Like this is what I do for a living. I want you to take what I say serious when it comes to this. Like I'm telling you one thing, I mean what I say when it comes to this. But it's just a learning experience, when not like, I don't think it'll stop in the sense of,
I don't think it's going to stop. Yeah. I think it gets worse, to be honest with you.
The bigger you get,
because of this. Now, believe me, I love being able to teach weather. I know you do
oh, yeah.
as well. And that's why we do what we do. And we care. We care about you. That's why we're bringing all this information. That's why we're diving all of it. We want you to understand the science. And Leslie has a show 12:30 to 1 called Beyond the Forecast.
Man,
we
so good.
We dive into a bunch of stuff that you don't cover on the newscast in essentially what we call a podcast. But people can be really hateful, and I'll be honest, if you're hateful more often than not, I'm going to block you. I mean, it's just all there's to it. Yeah. Haters going to hate. I get it. I could take a lot of stuff. I'm a man, and there's going to be hateful people, and I get that. And I know, I've seen a lot of posts. I did talk about the generic weather apps, because 4 days out to make a post about or to say 11 to 13 inches, but they don't just do it 4 days out. They do it 16 days out.
Yeah, we're talking.
And you know what it does? It creates people to say, is this really going to happen? And honestly, James Spann said this best. The storm nowadays used to be what meteorologists were concerned about, because that's when they had to exude all their energy.
Right.
But you know what? Not anymore.
Not anymore.
It's way before the storm arrives. Why did I not sleep well? Well, honestly, there's a lot of pressure on the forecast.
There is.
I get it. There's a lot of pressure to be compared with other people about what I did with snow totals. I know, guarantee there's going to be a lot of people saying, you went 8 to 12 and this person went this and they got it right. You didn't. Great.
Whether you put preliminary on it or not, it'll happen.
But another thing too is we talk about, I did mention all the things that I might see happen with the models, and that's some of the insight that you won't see other places. The 850 millibar temperature is warming.
Right.
That happened. This track of the low possibly shifting north. It started way south. And what happened? It lifted northward.
In fact, when we first started diving in with this storm earlier this week, the GFS had rain and snow as far south as Houston and even points southward. And we were like, that's going to take north.
That's going to take a north path. Yeah. And then you got all the other complications too. Dry air intrusion, as you saw with the soundings. Yep. You've got dry slot conditions. When this storm really ramps up, there could be a giant dry slot.
Yeah, that
kills the precipitation. There's a lot of stuff that happens. So a lot of people are really awesome. There are some haters out there. Hate is going to hate. Right?
It happens.
Yeah, it does.
It happens.
It does. All you can do is pray for them, right?
Right.
Just pray for them and hope for the best. But that's what they said. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best.
Yep.
So, guys, I really appreciate you being on here. Denton Sachs, if you're still cranking away.
No, we're still working here. Yeah.
You're still working. You're still on there.
At work.
Anything to add?
I'll comment with that too. So I've been in this a long time, and I've been doing severe weather media for a long time, and it's anyone can take a graphic of a weather model and post that and put a big red arrow on it, and say like, oh, this is going to happen. It's going to be but what you get here when you're listening to true meteorologists, like what you see here, is that you get that analysis and you get the science behind why the model is even showing this. So that model is built from the science, right? So and these guys know that science intimately. It's a complicated fluid dynamics is hard. I had to take it in college, and it's really really hard. So whenever you start talking about all the variables that can happen into it, it's absolutely a phenomenally hard science. So it's something that people should know. You're coming and you're paying for the analysis, right? You're paying for the years of experience and the ability to compare this with past events. That's something that you don't get with the the pop-up Facebook weather teams, quote unquote. So.
Yeah. And they're doing what they're doing, and you can't say anything good, don't say anything at all. So that we'll just keep it at that. I was going to shut it down, but I do kind of want to show maybe some of the long range, the newest European. Yeah, the European, the 0Z's coming in. That shows you we've been here a little while. And let's take a look here real fast. I'll be able to share this on the screen. I'm curious to what it has. Good night. Well, here's the deal. Remember, this is just a computer model.
Yeah.
But it's just astounding. Have you ever seen a system that has consistently, Denton, shown precipitation totals as much as this is showing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is it's going to be. There's a lot of energy here. There's a lot of available potential energy for this system to work with. So it's going to be something that we have to keep a very close eye on.
Check this out here. So this is, I'm going to show this because this is what the model output is. I wouldn't do it really far out, but man, it's just consistently showing this. And 8 to 12, if you're looking at this, is conservative. I will say these are typically overdone by a factor of about 0.5.
Yep.
But nevertheless, that's a lot. And then you look at the sleet total. This is what really is wild. About an inch of sleet. And then you look at the freezing rain and, oh my goodness gracious.
And notice
is that really happening? That is bad.
The GFS has freezing rain way further south compared to this.
Yes.
And that was the newest GFS. But they both still show that bullseye of heavy snowfall along and north of Interstate 40.
Did you see that, Denton?
Yeah. So, guys, I tell you, if that comes to fruition, that is absolutely catastrophic on the power grid. That's something that and you think back to these previous big winter icing events that we had, 99, 2000, 2006. It's the same infrastructure out there, right? Like a lot of it didn't get rebuilt or it's not renewed, so it's even older now. And so that's something that if that comes to fruition right there, what you're showing on the screen, just widespread power outages, and that's something that in that part of the state can be a while for the restoration time still.
The European nailed the 2009 ice storm too. The GFS was way too cold, and I remember it specifically. And look, there's the GFS. It still has the icing though. Still has over 2 inches. It's just a little farther south. Typically, Arctic air is a little bit stronger, but look at the ice accumulation. Look at the sleet.
Oh, man.
5 inches? Come on, man. That's just what? Wow. That's just unbelievable. That's if that comes to fruition, that's unreal. I just can't even begin to say what. I mean, obviously it's a model. I think it's crazy, but let's look at the reflectivity with the type. I want to see exactly what this looks like. And this is the GFS. So look at how it dries it out too in terms of snow. but then it redevelops. So this is an important reminder. I do think there will be a lull
Yeah.
in the middle of the day on Saturday. This is a really important thing because please have patience when you're looking for snow. It takes a long time for it to develop. But look at that Saturday early morning, Saturday afternoon, we get this little dry punch, but then remember it's positive tilt, that low. And so that just cranks up overnight Saturday into Sunday morning. And that could be the heaviest.
Yeah, that looks on that run, that looks heavy.
Wow.
Like the heaviest.
And then we'll go to the European. And we got to do this P-type. They don't have a composite reflectivity. And now look at this. This has just a tremendous amount of freezing rain, and then it has all the snow as well. That's what's so concerning about this system is the amount of the precipitation shield and how long it lasts.
That's
because it is so massive.
That's a lot of moisture.
This really is an astounding system. I guess we'll see what happens. Canadian, we never looked at the Canadian. Let's check out the Canadian. Let's see what it's got. So
sleet.
It's got sleet mostly, but it still has that freezing rain in the river valley. Southern Arkansas.
Yeah.
I that's what I was saying. I think Southern Arkansas, northwestern Mississippi, and northeast Texas going to be the bullseye for that accumulation. Let's look at this here. Sleet total.
Oh, man.
Freezing rain total. It's all right there. Now, something else, too, that I think we could look at, which is kind of cool with pivotal. When you look at pivotal weather, we'll share this tab instead. So if we go back to winter products on this, and, people do this. They look at snow depth. I would personally like to look at snow depth. We're going to go to, going to close that out. Then we're going to go here, and then we're going to look at snow depth, okay? Not the change, just the snow depth. And let's go to a model trend, not a model trend loop, forecast loop, just to get the idea on the most likely time. Look at that. It's just bonkers in terms of snow.
That is insane.
But what I want to show you here is we're going to show you a model trend, and this is why come on. Stop. This is why deterministic models are so off the wall, and it's better to use ensembles, which we didn't even get a chance to look at ensembles. Come on. There we go. Let's go back to 114 here. 102. Okay, back to about 6. This is probably the max snow depth right here. That's snow depth. That's still tremendous.
That is a lot.
But if we look at the model trend loop, this is the same time. This is when it didn't have as much snow. The next model run, very little. Next model run, very little. So there's that trend where people might be like, not going to be that much. Right. And then the very next run after that, after the model started realizing, okay, this system is getting stronger. See how that's shifting north. A little bit of a southern track there on that one. Again, this is all for all the ending snow Sunday night. Then you can see it kind of how it lifted north over time. That's the trend.
Yep.
But anyways, that's that. And then we'll look at the European, and then we will close it down.
Not much.
Not much. Increasing, going nuts, and then just not stopping. I think personally this is a really good plus, over a foot. And that's Washington County right there.
It is right over us, Washington.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, guys, that does it. I got to go. I actually got to do a weather talk. I am going to
it never stops.
I'm going to Gravit tomorrow morning, and I'm talking to 3rd and 4th graders, and I don't have much of a presentation, updated. I really haven't had much time to do it. So Deer and Limestone, Donna, you got a lot of snow coming. All right. You'll be able to make snow ice cream for weeks.
Yeah. Very true.
Okay, Denton, I know you don't have your camera on anymore, but appreciate you so much. Appreciate what you've done. Thank you so much, Davion. Josh Rugger is in the morning, and Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Back at it
that's
tomorrow.
that's about it, man. And Leslie's got her beyond the forecast.
Yep.
Grab it here. Come on down, Dan. Man, I won't have time to blink. I'll go there and then I'll have to turn around and I'm right back home. So tell the 3rd and 4th graders about the Slayer concert you went to. Not just Slayer, but Megadeth, Metallica. Play some heavy metal, man. Thanks for watching, guys. God bless. Take care, and we'll see you later.